Here we are as a country, and I wrote this in my Sunday newspaper column yesterday, with more resources than almost anywhere else, more land too, plenty of water, yet we're suffering an energy crisis, a housing crisis, and problems with securing our water supply because we've got this dam phobia. Yesterday, the Albanese government says it's got a plan to sort the mess out, and today we've had the announcement by the nation's Energy Security Board of a new mechanism which would involve paying energy companies to generate a reliable energy supply. In news overseas, Germany has just announced it will pass emergency laws to reopen coal plants as Russia continues to shut down the gas pipeline with Berlin. Joining me now from Canberra for his analysis on this and everything else around today is the national editor of the Australian newspaper, Dennis Shanahan. Welcome to the show. Great to have you as always, Dennis. This plan out today, it's in draft form, won't be final until the end of the year. And even then, it doesn't come into force until 2025. So how does it help our current crisis?
Well, I think the biggest problem we face at the moment is that everyone is talking about unparalleled threats to our energy security. We need to act now. There's never been a greater threat. And yet they don't actually act as if there is an emergency. There is a global energy emergency. There is a global energy shortage. And we are now facing the same shortages because of the long-term policies of multiple Australian governments, where the priority, as Daniel Andrews said today, the priority is renewables and cutting emissions. No, the priority should be getting reliable energy when we can and wherever that energy comes from, until we can transition to renewables when they can, as Daniel Andrews said they must, at some stage, provide baseload electricity. At this stage, they can't. The priorities of all governments have to shift, and this mechanism is only one step towards it. There have been too many proclamations by state ministers, federal ministers, and various involved individuals who are just keeping the priority on cutting emissions. Net zero carbon emissions by 2050 is their priority. No, reliable energy should be the priority. We're seeing it in Europe. Germany and Italy are turning back to coal. We should be doing whatever we can to encourage the survival of our economy through the survival of our coal-fired power stations until the renewables can provide baseload, transition and replacement.
I understand all of that, Dennis. We know that the UK Prime Minister, who drank the Kool-Aid of Glasgow last year, is rapidly rewinding that. He's got more nuclear on the table. He's certainly opening up coal mines. I mentioned Germany just then, but why aren't we? The problem is we've got these draft mechanism out. It does include coal and gas. We heard from the Victorian Premier, though, he's not going to have a bar of coal and gas in the Victorian plans that they sign off. Tough going then for Victorians because there's not many other options. This is the reality, and still we've got the government saying that when the Parliament returns at the end of July, they want to legislate a 43% emissions reduction target that will be in place within the next 8 years. If this is our reality, and it's an energy crisis, it's not a climate emergency, it's an energy crisis, Dennis. If this is the reality, then what on earth is the Albanese government doing pushing on at a time when we need more fossil fuels in the system, not less?
Well, it is an exact denial of everything they said about ending the energy wars, about ending the climate change wars and stopping the cultural wars. What they have concentrated on with the big photo shoots and so forth, the signing of the 43% cuts pledge, they're going to introduce it to Parliament. They don't have to introduce it to Parliament. It's playing politics, and it doesn't actually do anything if it passes in Parliament. It's already been lodged with the United Nations, so it has achieved what it was going to achieve. Introducing a 43% target for carbon reduction in the Parliament is a pointless political exercise. And I think what we need to do is see more of Chris Bowen, as he was today, saying, oh, all the sensible people need to be talking about what the mechanism can do. Yes, he's right. And they've got to stop all of this symbolic, political argy-bargy, the passage of legislation that counts for nothing. The government should be working and getting
but this is a wedge
mechanism.
for the Greens, isn't it?
Oh, well, of course it is.
This is a wedge for the Greens.
But of course the Greens are going to vote against it anyway.
But this is where Albanese sees the greatest threat for the Labor Party. It's been the greatest threat for him and his seat of Grayndler for a good 15 years. And I understand from people I've spoken to last week that this is part of their broader push. They're worried about the Greens picking up seats at the election from Labor and certainly making inroads into Labor seats that they didn't pick up. This is all designed to be the power play for the next election with the left side of politics.
Well, yes, but again, what you then have is green light from Anthony Albanese. That is green light, L-I-T-E, not a green light from Anthony Albanese on carbon emissions. The Greens will always demand more. The Teals will always demand more. He has to actually start to get back to govern from the centre where he said he would govern, like the Hawke-Keating years, and start to work on realistic programs on energy generation, energy capacity, job protection, and that includes not playing politics to try and outplay the Greens or embarrass the Greens. We saw what happened when Kevin Rudd tried to embarrass the Greens on the emissions trading scheme more than 10 years ago, in fact, almost 20 years ago, because he could not do the deal with the Greens. The Greens wanted more and more, and so Kevin Rudd eventually came unstuck as leader because of this, and Anthony Albanese wants to be very careful that he doesn't start chasing symbols and abandons what could be real practical answers for Middle Australia, who are undergoing enormous cost of living crises, and we are facing an economic energy crisis right now. We don't want to wait 6 months, and nor do we have to pass symbolic legislation in the Parliament.